esta charla también estará con nosotros el siguiente jueves en una masterclass. Échenle ojo en relaciones, en la página de relaciones. Y bueno, él viene desde Holanda y tiene pues un trabajo bien interesante, no solo como fotógrafo, sino también como curador. Yo tuve el placer de tener una colaboración con él, por ahí algunos de ustedes conocen el proyecto de Nada que Declarar. Y bueno, si no lo conocen, después podemos platicar un poco de eso, pero bueno, ahora la plática tiene que ver más con una visión que tiene Pieter respecto a qué hay detrás del trabajo de cada quien, ¿no? Que por qué es importante el trabajo de cada uno de nosotros, y también el masterclass que tiene relación con este tema. No les voy a leer su semblanza porque creo que ya todos la conocen, y también él va a hablar un poco de él mismo. Entonces, pues, bienvenido, Pieter. Y ya saben que la charla va a ser en inglés.
Yes. Lo siento, yo no hablo español. Thank you.
I could do it in Dutch, but I'm not gonna.
So thank you for coming. What I'm going to talk about today is, the most important is a very simple idea. I know you're all in the arts, working with arts. And I've talked a lot to, I've studied a lot of artists, and I've talked to a lot of artists. And most of, in my talks with artists, I found out that they're missing
Of how to create something that is worthwhile or has value in the long term and
is of importance. Instead,
they go more for the obvious and
for what is aesthetically beautiful, which is completely understandable. It's very hard to make work
that really matters.
and that will give you value in the long term, and you'll be remembered as a great artist, maybe not. It's not a success. It's a simple story, it's a simple philosophy. I've seen it work a lot by studying with photographers. I come from photography, so it's mainly photographers that I've worked at, but I don't see many people do it. And we're living in a world which is saturated with artists. I mean, there are thousands and thousands. How do you make something that is worthwhile, that is important? Anyway, what I'm going to do first is give a little introduction in who I am. Then I'm going to talk about 500 Photographers, a project that I've started. And that's also a reason, actually, why I'm here right now. And then, lastly, and most importantly, about getting to that essence
And for who you are and as an artist.
and creating something that comes from that essence. Anyway, this is me. Here I was about, I don't know, one and a half years old. And I think we can agree that children are about the most creative. They're all born creative. There have been studies that basically whatever you do in whatever job you work, we all have the same creative potential, any of us, whether you're a lawyer or a plumber or an artist. It's whether you use it or not. The whole thing is that our creativity gets killed.
Right about when we're 3, 4.
Simple examples are, as a child, you get asked to draw a home, a house, and you just dribble something. And the teacher says, no, that's not a house looks like this. Now, why? I mean, if the child thinks that's a house, why take away that creativity? And why put it in a frame and say, this has to be a house, and that is a person, and that is a tree? Next to that, our schooling system, at least in Holland, in the United States, and I've seen it. I gave a class in Mexico City at the University Panamericana, and they showed me that in Mexico the schooling system is not much different. It's based on two facts on the farm. Now we have vacations in summer. That's the farm project, the farm principle, because then we have to harvest our crops, and the children have to help. Now we don't do that anymore. The children don't have to go home anymore to harvest the crops, but we still have vacations in that summer, in that period. The other part is the factory. We need to be able to reproduce, to be factory workers. So what we get to learn is tricks, just to, this is A, this is B, how do you get from A to B? They teach you how, and that's the way. A good example of, I changed schools a few times, and I had a math equation that I had to solve, and I did that. I got the grade back, and I got a C minus, but my answer was correct. Now I asked the teacher why did I get a C minus, which was basically, just barely enough, although my answers were correct, was because the method I used was incorrect. So I used a method that I was taught in a different way, and it was not his way. So I was not able or allowed to think for myself. I had to do exactly as the teacher said. Now that's good if you want to be a factory worker, but it takes away all the imagination. It takes away all the way, creativity basically. And creativity is one of the most important things in our life for anything. I mean, any problem we have in this world is not solved by a simple trick. If that was true, we would not have problems. So every problem, every war, anything has to, people need to think about that and use their creative minds, imagination, etc. So, here I was still drawing houses like whatever, and after that I started drawing houses with a door and a window in it. Between 2002 and 2007 I studied at the School of Fine Arts in Utrecht, Holland. Did documentary photographer, gave me a bachelor in design. Doesn't say very much, but I have it. I can say that when I finished school I had the feeling I didn't learn anything, but that's not true. It was like I developed myself as a person basically. I didn't get to learn much technique or get any tricks. I just got to learn how to think and reflect on things, and that is actually one of the most important things to stimulate your creativity and your imagination. Then after studies,
I became a
you just do what people tell you to do, and so I'm not going to talk about that at all. I don't do it anymore. When my agent went bankrupt in 2012, I told him I'm going to quit also. So I don't do any commercial photography anymore, which is very good, because I hated it. 2008, I published my first book. It was a tiny book. It was about, we had a newly installed smoking ban in bars, etc. And I was curious, are we actually implementing that, or how does it look now in bars? And I went to loads of different bars and everybody was just smoking, and it was a simple idea, fast book, fun. It was distributed at loads of bars, and that was it. The book I did after that was, I believe in '88, which is a book about a group of right-wing extremists, neo-Nazis, in Eastern Germany. Now I did this book not because it was just an idea. When I was 14, I lived in Austria, and I was left-wing. I was an anarchist. I didn't know what it meant, but that was it. My friends were that, so I wanted to be cool. And then on the 21st of April, we were going to a demonstration against neo-Nazis. And I had this thing in my head that these neo-Nazis would all be like 5 meters tall and spit fire, and I wouldn't be able to understand what they said. But in fact, on our way there, we met a group of neo-Nazis that were looking for a fight. And this kid stands right in front of me, same height, same kind of face, with a knife in his hand. And I looked at him and I thought, my vision of you is not what I imagined. I can understand what you're saying. You probably have a mom and a dad too. And in my imagination, they didn't. The guy actually stabbed me, but I couldn't let go of that image, of that realization that that was just a person too. So that stuck with me for very long. And there was this moment where I thought, I need to find out who these people are. Are they people? Is there love in their world of hate? And so I did, and spent several months with a group of people that are people and know how to love, but know how to hate too, and are often in prison for very, very bad things. I'm very hard. First, that wanted to publish but got scared because my approach is not I'm not giving a big argument on how bad they are. I'm actually objectively looking at, are they people, are they not? Which made it really hard, definitely in Europe, to get this published. Then when I decided to publish it myself, I went to printers and they said, yeah, sure. And in the end, I had my third printer actually did it because the other printers, like a day before printing was due, they said, no, we're not going to do it, we're too scared. So it took a while before it got published, but it did. Then in 2009, I also opened a bookstore and a gallery in Rotterdam, where I'm from, by the way. And I had that for 3 years. Did several shows in the gallery, and well, this picture is actually from the very first day, but in the end it was completely filled with books until I couldn't fill it with books anymore. But I was doing 5,000 things at the same time, and I found out towards the end that this one was the lowest on my priority list. So I decided to quit, because if I can't do it 100%, then it's not worth it. During that time, I also, because the gallery was called Four Eyes Photography and Art, that's also where I made a magazine called Four Eyes Photography Magazine, inviting photographers to for their photography and stories. So basically, it was driven by simple themes, and then asked them, and they were all free to do whatever. If it was good, it was good. If it wasn't that good, it's what I asked. You had all the freedom you wanted. So I got really short shit stories too. That was part of the game. And within, and that will be the next thing I'm going to talk about, within those four walls of the gallery, I also started with a little project called 500 Photographers, which actually became a monster of a project. And I will talk about that just after this, but this is my introduction on what I'm doing, or what I've done until now. Due to 500 Photographers, I've started curating, did shows in Los Angeles, Guatemala, and several others. Give lectures, workshops like these, or lectures like these, workshops, master classes. I've taught at art academies in Holland. I do a lot of portfolio reviews, also around the world. In Portland, I was one of the biggest. Edit for magazines, guest edit. I published this. I've only published one book until now. A book of a photographer that I admire and is also a good friend. He came to me that he wanted to publish a book, and I know how hard it is to publish a book, so I helped him and got it out. I write for magazines. I judge a lot of competitions, and because I quit my commercial photography work, I needed to do something for the money. So I bartended for quite a few years. I actually quit 2 months ago because it's very hard to combine. And not only that, because as it is hard to combine, you don't fully, you don't have the 100%, no, I have to rephrase this. It's hard to really get the maximum out of the things that you want to do. And so I need to take that chance. Because otherwise it will just, it will be there where I don't want it to be. So it's now or never. And since I quit, this is my first thing, so I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Nada que declarar, which was done with Ingrid, that was one of the projects I did as well. So it's cool. Now 500 photographers, the next chapter. On Friday, the 2nd of April 2010, I had a eureka moment. I was actually, I studied at the academy in Utrecht, and I had finished my second book about, I believe in '88, the neo-Nazis, and I was wondering, where do I want to go with my photography? Because I believe that those photographers or artists that make very clear choices in what they do, long-term based, are the ones that are successful, or at least create something of value. Not so much money-wise, but that it has importance to other people and to themselves, and that it matters, that it's justified that it's made. Because a lot of people produce stuff, but tomorrow we forget about it. And so I asked myself, what did I miss during my studies, and what do I need to do to, get that information? I didn't have money to do a postgraduate school, or so I needed to create my own studies. And so I thought, I'll look at photographers that I know are successful, and I'm going to study them and see what is different about them compared to other photographers. Now I would find some photographers and think, yes, this is amazing, this is great, and then a few days later I would see a friend and say, oh, I found this amazing thing, and then I'd forget their names. I'm very bad with names, so I couldn't find it again. So on the Friday, the 2nd of April 2010, I thought, and I'd already been busy with blogs and Blogspot, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a blog for myself, and I'll just put them in, a few pictures, a few words, so at least I can go back and find it again. So I emailed like 5 friends that I'm going to do that project. And I would start on Monday the 5th. And on Monday the 5th, it was on this website also, this photography news website that said Pieter Wisse is going to start this website. And I was like, why is this in the news right now already? It's day 1. There's nothing happening. And on day 3, a big Dutch newspaper started writing about it. And I didn't understand. And little by little, people started writing about it. And on week 3, this website called Photo Jojo wrote about it. Now, Photo Jojo is a website that talks about photography gadgets. And has nothing to do with the website like I was going to make. But they wrote about it. And what they had like 400,000 subscribers, and they post something every 2 times a week. And an email goes out. So on week 3, it spiked up. And since then, it's been basically like thousands and thousands, tens of thousands each month that came. So I was like, because I was actually just making an archive for myself, and now suddenly I had this big audience that wanted, because the whole concept of the thing is 5 times a week I would post a photographer that I thought was amazing, that had all these values that I think are important to be, to matter, to be of importance. And I would not put the biggest of the biggest, because if you're in photography and you don't know those, then you shouldn't be in photography. So there's no, and they should be alive and active right now. Now, what am I looking for within these photographers was, actually, it's very simple. I look for whether I can see the photographer behind the work. So I look at the entire body of work of a photographer, not just one image, not just one series, at all their series. Can I recognize the photographer behind it? Do I understand why this photographer does these works? Do I understand why he goes from one series to the next? Is there a red line between one series and the other? I'll come back to that later, why that's so important, in my belief. Anyway, while I did this, and the funny thing is, the website is not finished. It should have been finished already, because it's called 500 Photographers. That was the whole idea. 100 weeks, 5 photographers a week. But I got stuck at 455. Life happened. I can talk about that. It's all different stories. But life happened. So it's stuck at 455. Funny thing is, people still come to the website. It's used a lot as research. It's used at a lot of, because due to Google Analytics, I can see where people come from. A lot of universities use it as work for students, so they can research. Anyway, this was for me, the step as well to curating, editing. I've now been called in Holland the centipede of photography, because I do so many things. Why do I do so many things? Publish, write, because I do all the things that I like, and I don't, conform myself to just one thing. If I like it, I do. But this has been a step up for me to be able to do all those things. Yeah. So we go to the most important, which is, as I said, creating art is easy. Creating art is hard, because creating art is super easy. You just take a piece of paper, you put something on, and it's art. But to make it of something of importance or that matters is super hard. So I want to stipulate first that I'm not judging what anybody's doing. There's thousands of different kinds of art, and I don't know about here, but I know that art can be very elite, and we can judge about what somebody else is doing. Now, I like to refer to any kind of art as there's an audience for that art. If it's tacky and kitsch, whatever, do I think something about it? Absolutely. Is that a problem? No. The art that I'm talking about, that is the most important for me, is the art that has a concept, has a context, and has some friction. Now, friction is something very easy. It's basically, it's like the box. See art as a box. Take photojournalism. Photojournalism is a closed box. You have your information, that's all in there. You have a beginning and an end story. You understand exactly what you're seeing. There's no you don't need to ask any questions anymore. There's a guy shooting another guy, okay, and it's drug related. The whole story is complete. Now that's not so interesting for me. I want one side of the box to be open. Basically that the information goes out to where I can't see it. And that I start to wonder, what is it about? It actually makes me question things. And that's where some kind of friction happens. Friction can be in the image, can be outside the image, but I need to wonder, be amazed. They say that in museums, the average time of people looking at an image is about 3 seconds. That's not very much. So you want people to look at the image for a lot longer. Now how does that happen? It's not when you understand it. When you see a picture of a sundown, you know, the sun setting at a beach, you say beautiful, end. And you've seen it. You've seen it 100 times next to that. But if there's something that you don't understand, you start to wonder, you start to look for answers. They're probably not in the image. Maybe inside of you. Maybe you'll never find the answer, but that's interesting. Anyway, that's the kind of art that I'm talking about. Next to that, I don't look at single images. Everybody is able to create something amazing once. If you take a camera and you start shooting photographs, there'll be one amazing image. If you shoot 1,000 times, there'll be something great. That doesn't make you a photographer. So I look at series because they have body, they have a thought behind it. There's something that is not repeated, but is makes the entire thing to a complete whole, and you get deeper layers if it's done correctly. So it talks about one thing, but there's a deeper layer behind it, and maybe a third layer and a fourth layer, where these questions come up. It's like the project about the neo-Nazis. The first thing you see is the bald heads, the tattoos, the flags, etc. And you see neo-Nazism. So you see racists. Does it talk about racists? No, not so much. It talks about humanity. But that's a layer deeper. It talks about love, it talks about hate. There's all these layers that you can find. Do I give an answer? No.
Do I make you question?
Actually, there was a review about my book by a German guy that actually asked whether you're open or not. You can find out by reading this book, because if you're not, you'll just see the surface. You'll just see the flags, the hatred, the tattoos. And if you're open, you'll see the deeper layers of, this whole world. And it has more, hatred is everywhere. But does that make people bad? The dangerous question with neo-Nazis, I know. But anyway, so series instead of singles. Now if there are loads of artists that do make singles. For me it's most interesting if I can connect the singles and understand why he makes all these singles. And they form a whole, because they're
A good
example I often use is Jeremy Coward versus Danny Clinch. They're both commercial pop artists, photographers. Jeremy Coward is a whore, and Danny Clinch is not. Basically, what Jeremy Coward is technically amazing. He can make any image. The artist comes, he does Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Bruce Springsteen. He'll do any. And he does. But I can take any of those images and put them with another pop photographer that is technically very good. And I wouldn't see that it's not done. It wouldn't make sense. It would make sense. It does. I'm like wondering, did he make it or did he not? Danny Clinch is a photographer that has one style. And if I see a Danny Clinch image, I know it's his. Because, and actually he actually chooses who he works with and who not. And they all have the same feeling within these images. And that makes a Denny Clinch image a Denny Clinch image. If I take one of Jeremy Cower's images and put them at Denny Clinch, I'm saying, no. Something went wrong here. You know, he had a really bad day or something. But if I take one of the images of Denny Clinch and I put them at Jeremy Cower's, I wouldn't ask a strange question. Because Jeremy Coward is technically sufficient to take a Denny Clinch image. He even does. He can do anything, but
that, you know, take a picture of a cactus and
success. And at least you will make something that is valuable to yourself. So I talked a bit about this already, content over technique. The technique is really, really important in the way that it gives you freedom to use the right technique with the content. So if you want to talk about the content, it makes it more powerful. It's about aesthetics. Now, is it it might be. Same with quality and quantity. Don't pump out images just because you want people to see you. You know, make it matter, make it important. Now, there's these 7 steps of Raphael Duzio, although he's American, I think, so it's Duzio. They come pretty close to what I believe. And it's actually a very, it's important to know these steps when you're busy creating art. Just to be aware already of what you're doing. And plus, as I said, you know, my story is pretty simple in how you can get to create art. And to some people it comes naturally, to some people it doesn't. Now, these steps, whether it comes naturally or not, are good to be aware of. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. And next to that, these steps, these are 7 steps, but they can be in any order. Formulate a question. Describe an idea. We all have ideas and we all have questions. You know, that's a really good starting point for creating art. Next step is the research. You have to know everything about what you want to do, what you want to talk about. Now that research can be from anywhere. We'll get to where this is for me the most important step, the research. Because I'll get to that later. Yeah? Yeah, that's best. So research is basically getting all the information that you can, whether that is from the internet, from newspapers, from TV, or from within yourself. So good. Now there's a moment where you need to stop the research. Simple, you want to be a baker, you can research to death, all the types of bread that you can make. You have to start making your bread sometime. You have to decide sometime. So stop the research. And this is where people can go on and on and on. It's also where people don't do anything. In step 2, people don't research. Why is research in this way also important? A simple question has a simple answer. The first answers we give are very shallow, are very on the surface. Now if we start working with that straight away, you'll get a very shallow and on the surface kind of project, which doesn't surprise people. There's no unique, authentic entrance point. So that's why the research is so important. But that's also why stopping the research is important, because you can also know too much and have too much information. Now this is a funny step that I think is a very subconscious step. In his view, it's a very conscious step. You have to stop thinking about the entire thing. And then when you're showering, it'll come back. You've been so busy researching, etc., that it'll come back, And if you do it correctly, then other things, come into the question, and time and a break really can surprise you in what kind of imagination you have and what an idea can develop into if you're not too busy with it. And that's when you get this eureka moment. That for me, and that's why I also said these steps can be, in different orders. For 500 photographers, my eureka moment was the first step. And I can consciously when I did it. And I didn't take long with each step, but that's because 500 photographers was kind of a stumble upon project. But the research had already been done before, because I've been studying these photographers and I've been, creating this vision of what I think is great photography. I was just doing life and working on other things. I had my question already before as well, because I was wondering, what did I miss during my studies? And how can I find who I am as a photographer? So basically all these steps have been taken, but I wasn't aware of them. It's very good to be aware of them if you really want to create something. It's also very easy, it's also a very good system if you don't know what to do. I don't know, I'm an artist, but I have no idea, what am I going to make now? Well, just take one of the steps. Take step 1, formulate a simple, stupid question. And you might, find out at step 2 that it's boring or uninteresting, or you don't like it. Stop, go back. So just formulating a simple question. We all have questions. Then after the eureka, and according to Rafael Biluzio, this is where most people fail. I think he's right. Is actually creating, making. We have so many ideas, we have so many, but how many actually get made? In the end, not that much. And that's also one of the hardest parts. It's the most time-investing parts.
Art.
And you have to be, open to fail. It's not bad failing. It's very good. It's part of the process. And then the last step, which is one of the steps you can't start with, but is criticizing and testing. And testing is asking other people, what they think of it. And hope, asking honestly, and wanting to know honest answers. So, this for me is the most important part for me, and that's the research part. Question is, where does art come from? Now, I think I know where art comes from if we take our bodies. I actually had a talk with, I was flying from Holland to LA to come here, and the flight attendant asked me, what you're going to do in LA, and I was, I'm going to do a lecture in Tijuana. Oh, about what? And I was like, yeah, about creativity, and she's like, oh yeah. So, and she said, yeah, I like making arts, and I do. She was like a hobby, perfect. And so I said, well, yeah, it's about where art comes from and how you can find it and how you can use that to create something. She's like, oh yeah, but it's from the heart. If it's good, it's from the heart. Yeah, well, possible, sure. You could also say it's from the brain. I mean, we use our brains. Now, I think it comes from just below your ribs and just above your stomach. And I think you all know, if you punch yourself right here, that's one of the places that hurts the most. If you're lovesick, or if you're, someone dies that's close to you, it's at least for me, it's right here. And that's the sort of core. Now, for me, that's here. It might be another part for you guys. What I've done a lot is ask simple questions. And it's a very simple question. Do what you do. Now, if you ask people, you get a very simple answer, a very correct answer, very shallow answer, because that's but what? And after we think about their answer, and it's like a little kid. When a little child asks, why is the leaf of a tree green? You'll probably answer, because it is. Or because, this. And the kid will ask why and why and why and why. In the end, you get back to the core. There is a reason why a leaf is green and not red. And pure biology, and that's something that is the most essential thing of why trees exist and why they give us air and etc. So it gets through all these deeper layers of why a leaf is green. Now we can do the same with ourselves, but we have to be open, and that is something that is very scary. Now I've done it in a lot of portfolio reviews, and I found out that basically nearly all photographers, or all artists, I taught photographers, they were all photographers, everyone works from it all starts with themselves. And there's always a reason why they're fascinated by something. Now what I hate, and I've heard this hundreds of times as answers from students that do a final project, and or big photographers that have big projects. I've always been fascinated by first sentence. Now, I've always been fascinated by the shape of my poop in the toilet. You don't have that. In Holland, the toilets, they don't go in the water straight, so you see them. Fascinating. Doesn't mean I need to photograph it. Does it? I'm fascinated by 1,000 things. But am I going to photograph them? No, there's no reason. Now maybe there is, but then I need to ask myself the question, why am I so fascinated by that? I can give an answer. And then I'm going to ask myself again, and again, and again, and again. And each time I need to rethink my answer and get to one layer deeper. If you can do that, really open, then you'll get to somewhere that is fascinating. Because why is it fascinating? It shifts your focus. So, take the neo-Nazis, you know. I was fascinated by neo-Nazis. Why? Because I was stabbed when I was 14. That's my first answer. Okay, but why the neo-Nazis? You know, just simply asking again. Well, yes, because I had the imagination that they were so big, but they were kind of small. Okay, but why did I think they were so big and they were actually just my size? Yeah, because I come from a family where everything was judged, you know. People were good or people were bad. Okay, so how, you know, you can ask why, how, what, how did that change your mind? What happened when you had that realization about that person that was standing in front of you with a knife? Because it affected me because I was a young child, I was a teenager, and I rebelled. I don't know what I did. I was rebelling against my parents, and my views were that of my parents, and I was questioning them. And this was a key moment in who I was as a person, to change my perception that not everything's black and white. But everything is in the gray area. Now why, if I had not taken those steps, because I went deeper and deeper and deeper, if I had not taken those steps, I would have gone to Eastern Germany and I would have photographed these neo-Nazis as brutal animals or whatever, what we know from, you know, from the news. Well, we've seen all the images that if you type in neo-Nazi, you get all the same kind of images. Brutal animals. I would have done the same. But by questioning myself and getting deeper and deeper, my focus shifted towards a completely different question. And now why is that important? That is important because that gave a reason. It would have been a book like any other neo-Nazi book. And that's not what we do. Now, I don't photograph very much anymore, but because I took that process of digging deep within myself, finding out that I don't want to judge, I want to, you know, and realizing not everything is black and white, that has been a red line within my work. And that could, in the end, and it's a long-term process, be that within 20 years there's a kid in Tijuana talking about this photographer from Holland that did something, and it was I could see the photographer behind the work because it was always about, in the core essence, the same thing, even though he did loads of different projects. And these are things that are very close to our subconscious, or even inside, and it's hard to get to. I'm going to switch to this one first, because that's more important. or more important, that has more to do with this, is that it's hard to ask yourself these questions to yourself, because it's very hard to be open to ourselves, because it's scary. You know, we want to be in a safe place. So ask for help. Ask someone you trust to ask you questions. But instruct them well. Because what we tend to do, even I do it, is when someone talks about art, well, you should do this, or you should do that. Steer them in certain directions. But it has nothing to do with that person, because it comes from them. So simply asking the why, what, how questions, and keep on doing that, is super useful. You have to find the right person to do that. And I cannot tell you who that is for you guys. But do. Now, when you find that core of yourself, of your work, there are 1,000 ways you can approach your work. I did an internship with a Dutch photographer called Pieter Wisse, and he told me you should always do that which comes easy to you. Because you'll always find your difficulty. If you do it right, you know, you will be questioning, and you'll find things that, because if it's easy, you'll do the shallow thing, you'll do the superficial thing. But if you do it right, then you'll find out that, oh, if I want to make this interesting, if I want to make this fascinating, if I want to make it something that matters and has value, I need to rethink about this. And then it becomes art. You can also do that which is hard, which, for example, in 2013, this article came out, Google does. And the big companies, there are several big companies now that do it. The question is, can Google solve death? The whole question is not about death, or can they reach, you know, can they make us immortal? The strife is, though, they want, that is the strife. And we can find the cure. I mean, take it easier, we can try and find the cure for a certain kind of cancer that will probably prolong the general life of people for 1 year, or 1.5 years, if you take all people together. We cure one cancer, they live for longer. In general, we get a year older. Their approach goes the other way around, and maybe we can get 10 years, 15 years. Depends on how you, because in this approach, anything's possible. And basically both have to do with the research part. Why do we do what we do? What do we want? The process, that is these questions, that is the research, you have to document them. Why? Because then you can always go back to them, and you can always